Hi everyone. In this video lesson, we're going to learn how to factor algebraic expressions. We're going to begin by going over two very important words in this lesson. The first word is factors. Okay. Factors are those numbers or variables that are being multiplied together to give us what is called the product. So here's an example. 3 times 4 gives us the product 12. So 3 and 4 are factors of the number 12. Here's another example. 5x minus 35. Okay, the factors of 5x minus 35 is 5 times the quantity of x minus 7. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to go from this form, an algebraic expression, and we're going to write the factored form of that expression. When we're factoring algebraic expressions like this, we need to always look for the greatest common factor, GCF, which is 5 in this case here, because 5 will divide out 5x and it will divide out 35. Sometimes the greatest common factor is a mixture of numbers and variables. Okay, I'm going to begin this lesson by a review of the distributive property. So I'm going to use the distributive property on the first three problems. Going to distribute because I want to show you that actually factoring is going to be the reverse of the distributive property. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute 4 to each term in this parentheses. 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times minus 6 is minus 24. All right, number 2, 6 times x is 6x. And 6 times minus 6x is minus 36. Again, I'm using the distributive property. 9 times x is 9x, and 9 times minus 6 is minus 54. All right, so look at this expression. This expression and this expression are exactly the same. Okay, I want to factor this expression. When I factor this expression, I'm going to get this result right here. I'm going to get this result. All right, so let's go ahead and factor first the greatest common factor. Well, the greatest common factor between 4x and 24 is the number 4, because 4 will divide this term evenly and it will divide this term evenly. So we're going to factor out a 4. So it's going to be 4 times some quantity inside the parentheses. All right, 4 times what will give us 4x? Well, it has to be 4 times x, or 1x. We'll just put x. 4 times what will give us minus 24? Well, that's got to be minus 6. So you see what we have? We have this, which is what we started with here. All right, so we have the factored form of this expression, 4x minus 24. This is the factored form. So factoring is actually the reverse of the distributive property. All right, let's go on to the next one. So we're going to factor out the greatest common factor, which will be 6 in this case because it divides this term evenly and it divides this term evenly. So we'll have 6 times some quantity. 6 times what will give us back 6x? Well, that has to be 1x or just x. 6 times what will give us back minus 36? Well, that has to be minus 6. All right, so now I have the factored form of this expression. All right, number 6. Greatest common factor in this expression is 9, so we'll factor out a 9 times some quantity. 9 times what will give us 9x back? Well, that has to be 1x or just x. 9 times what will give me plus 36? Well, that's going to be plus 4. So now we have this expression in factored form. Okay, remember we had it here in factored form and we distributed to get this. So you see they're just opposite of each other. Like I said before, sometimes your greatest common factor is made up of numbers and variables. And that's the case that we have here in problem number 7. So 5 will be our greatest common factor between the numbers 10 and 15, 5. And x squared and x, their common factor is just x, because just x will divide x evenly, and x will divide x squared. We can't choose x squared because x squared doesn't divide x evenly. Okay, so our other factor will be x. Now we're going to have to multiply that by some quantity to get the original back. 5x times what will give us 10x squared? Well, 5 times 2, that'll give us 10 back, and x times another factor of x will give us x squared. 5x times what will give us minus 15x? Well, if I just multiply that with minus 3, 5x times minus 3 is minus 15x. Okay, number 8, 4 is our greatest common factor for the numbers 8 and 20, and x is our greatest common factor for x and x squared. It can't be x squared because x squared does not divide x evenly. So 4x is our greatest common factor for this expression. 4x times what will give us 8x squared? Well, 4 times 2 will give us the 8, and x times x will give us x squared. So we just need another factor of x. 4x times what will give us plus 20x? Well, that just has to be plus 5. 4x times 5 will give us 20x back. All right, so we're going to factor out a 6 here because it's a common factor for 12 and 18. And then x is our common factor for x and x squared. So 6x times 2 will give us 12, and x times x will give us x squared. 6x times what will give us minus 18x? Well, that's going to be minus 3. 4 will divide 4 and 8 evenly, and we're going to need m because m divides m evenly and it divides m cubed evenly. So we're going to need 4m as our greatest common factor. 4m times what will give us 4m cubed? Well, we have 4, so we don't need anything for 4. 4m times what will give us 4m cubed? Well, that's just going to be m squared, because we have m here to the first, and m squared will give us m cubed back. And 4m times what will give us minus 8m? Well, it's just going to be 2. Well, for number 11, we're going to factor out a 3k. That's our greatest common factor, because 3 will divide both of these numbers, and k will divide k and k cubed. So 3k times what will give us 3k cubed? Well, we're just going to need k squared. 3k times what will give us plus 12k? That's just going to be plus 4. For number 12, our greatest common factor will be 25y. 25y times what will give us 25y cubed? So we're going to need y squared. 25y times what will give us minus 50y? We just need minus 2. Okay, number 12. So we have multiple variables in each term. So we're going to have a number and 2 variables as our greatest common factor. So 3 is the greatest common factor between the 2 numbers, 3. And x squared will be the greatest common factor for x squared and x cubed, because x squared will divide x squared, and x squared will divide x cubed. We can't choose x cubed because x cubed doesn't go into x squared evenly. It's too big. And then y will divide out this y and this y. So there's our greatest common factor, 3x squared y. 3x squared times y times what will give us 3x cubed y. Well, we already have everything except we need just one factor of x because this is x squared and this is x cubed. So we're just going to need x. And 3x squared times y times what will give us minus 27x squared y. Well, I have x squared, I have y. I just need to multiply by -9. So you see 3x squared y times minus 9 will be -27 squared y. All right, number 13, we're going to factor out a 4, factor out a squared and b. Because 4 will divide both, 4 and 32, a squared will divide a squared and a cubed, and b will divide b and b squared. All right, so a squared b times what will give us a cubed b squared? Well, we have everything. We just need one factor of a, so we're just going to need a. And actually, we need another factor of b because we have b here, but we have b squared here. So we're going to need another factor of b to get b squared. For a squared b times what will give us 32a squared b. We have a squared, we have b, we just need 4 times 8, so it's going to be plus 8. Number 14, we'll factor out a 14, m squared n. That's our greatest common factor. Because 14 divides both 14 and 28, m squared will divide m cubed and m squared, and n will divide n and n squared. So 14m squared n times what will give us this term back? Well, we just need one factor of m because we have everything. We need one factor of m, and we also need one factor of n because we have n to the first here. Here we have n to the second, so we're going to need another factor of n. All right, 4m squared times n times what will give me this term back? So that's going to be plus 2. Because we have m squared and we have n. All right, number 15. So we're going to factor out a -2a squared b. So if you're noticing, each time we factor out the variables, it will be the variable with the smaller power. You see how we factored out a squared? And then we factor out b, the one with the smaller power will divide that power and the one that's larger than it. Okay? All right, so -2a squared b times what will give us this term back? Well, we have -2. We need another factor of a to get a cubed, and we need another factor of b to get b squared. -2a squared b times what will give us this term back? So we're going to need -3 here. You see -2a squared b times -3 will give us plus 6a squared b. (16) We're going to factor out a -3a squared b. -3a squared b times what will give me -a cubed b squared? Well, I need another factor of a, and I need another factor of b because this is b squared. -3a squared b times what will give me plus 15a squared b? Well, I have a squared and I have b. I just need -3 times -5 to get that term back. 17, we're going to factor out -2x squared. -2x squared times what will give us -2x cubed. So we're going to need another factor of x. -2x squared times what will give us plus 6 x squared. We're just going to need a negative 3. You see negative 2x squared times negative 3 is positive 6x squared. We're going to factor out a negative 8x squared here. Negative 8x squared times what will give us negative 8x cubed. Well, we have x squared. We're just going to need one factor of x. So it's just going to be x. Negative 8x squared times what will give us plus 16x squared. It's going to be minus 2. That's all we need, because negative 8x squared minus 2, you're going to get plus 16x squared. Again, you can always check by distributing to check your answer. Do you see I get negative 8x cubed? Distribute here, I'm going to get plus 16x squared. And that's what I have here. So you could always check if you're not sure. All right, we have 3 terms here. We do the same thing. Factor out the greatest common factor between all the numbers and the variables. In this case, not all of them have variables, so we're only going to be able to factor out the greatest common factor between the numbers, and that will be negative 4. So negative 4 times what will give us negative 4x cubed? Well, that'll be x cubed. Negative 4 times what will give us plus 8x squared? It's going to be negative 2x squared. And negative 4 times what will give us minus 12? That's going to have to be plus 3. And this concludes this lesson on factoring algebraic expressions.